Hey, it's Kara, your host. I'm here today because I'm often asked, what should I read next? Or what is your all time favorite book? And that is why I created this list. This list isn't a declaration of the greatest books of all time. Rather, it's a collection of the stories I can't stop thinking about, the ones I've recommended more times than I can count, and that continue to live rent free in my head. Whether you're looking for your next unforgettable read, or just want to see what books have shaped my reading life, I hope this guide of 25 books inspires you to discover a new favorite. Head on over to the link in the show notes or to bookishflights.com/read/25 books. Hi, I'm Kara Infante, and this is Bookish Flights. In each episode, I chat with one bookish guest as we take some time to sample and savor the pairing recommendations from their bookish flight. We hope to give you suggestions to cultivate your TBR list and nurture your leisure time through books. In today's episode, I am chatting with Karmen Somers. Karmen is the owner of Court Street Books in Florence, Alabama, and I'm honored to have her on the show today. Welcome to the show, Karmen.
Thank you. I'm super excited to be here.
Yes, well, as you know, as a listener, as you said, I always ask people, tell us about who you are, because I feel like we're so much more than this little tagline and bio that we have.
I'm a wife and a mother. I have six grandchildren that are the most amazing humans in the world. I actually, my husband's a pediatrician
Okay.
and I have a master's in business. So for the last 25 years, we've run a pediatric clinic. So it started out with five employees. We have about 70 now and five
Wow.
locations. So, and that ties in a little bit to how we came about with our store. So, so
Wow.
that's what I do for money.
Yeah. So you're doing that on top of the bookstore.
Yes.
Oh
Yes.
my, how do
We
you
both.
have time to do all of this?
I have a fantastic staff at both locations.
Okay.
All about the people you surround yourself with.
Yeah, and I imagine that, like you said, the pediatric, offices, that's been going on for a while. So you've had time to kind of build that up. And I know it
Right.
still takes day-to-day work. Like it's not like you just make it and then it stays.
Right.
But when did you start? Did you become a bookstore owner?
So my husband and I have always loved books. We plan our vacations around indie bookstores.
I
We
love
go
it.
to estate sales. People who are at estate sales send us, there's books here, come. And so, so my husband in the 90s really started collecting books and picking them up at different places, first edition Stephen King's, and started kind of researching what would sell. And so as soon as the internet started, he started selling books on the internet. And
Okay.
that's kind of just been a side thing of his.
Yeah.
And he's done it since the early 2000s. He has made quite a bit of money doing it. He just has
Wow.
really fine-tuned the niches and things that people buy and look for. And
Yeah.
so he's done it on several platforms. And so we've always looked for books, collected books, that kind of thing. So we've always kind of talked. We'd love a bookstore one day. We always go in bookstores, talk about our favorite things in every bookstore.
Yeah.
So we don't have an indie bookstore in Florence, or we didn't. We had had one years ago, pre-COVID. Um, I think it was more something somebody wanted to do, but not that they worked really hard. They wanted one,
Sure.
but they weren't there every day and kind of cultivating it. So it kind of went out of business. And we have a Books a Million. That's it.
Yeah.
And so in our whole town. And so we've always kind of talked about it. So then for our pediatric office, we have several offices and we were going to do a satellite office and in a location that's very central to our area. It's kind of a Quad Cities area.
Okay.
And this is like very central to our area. And we wanted to do a behavioral health center, which is one thing we have with our practice, where we do therapy and things like that.
Yeah.
And so we had to buy this building of like three suites. So it had three office suites in it, but we only needed two of them.
Okay.
So we ended up with this extra suite. And so we were like, do we rent it? How are we going to renovate it? Like, what do we need? And so we were a little worried about parking for our office. And so we were like, we can't just rent it to anybody because we're going to fight about parking because it has a kind of weird parking
Yeah.
situation. So we were like, you know what? We're not getting any younger. My husband's quite a bit older than me. And I was like, let's do it. Let's just do it. And I'm kind of
Yeah.
that person that I'm a pantser and I'm just like, let's go. Let's just, we do lots of entrepreneurial things. And so, anyway, we just were like, okay, we're going to bite the bullet and do it. So I
Yes.
started researching. I started, asking. There is a bookstore owner of Southland Books in Maryville, Tennessee. I'm gonna give a shout out to her, Lisa,
Okay.
who really helped us in the process. We had just made friends with her going in her shop over the years. We have a little
Okay.
cabin nearby. It's right outside of Gatlinburg,
Oh,
Townsend.
yeah. Okay.
And so we go in her shop a lot. She's mainly used books, and we find lots of treasures in there, and definitely a treasure in her because she helped me so much. As soon as I said it, she just started writing down resources, contacts,
Yeah.
and that helped tremendously. And it just, from there, we just started building it.
Wow.
So
Yeah. And what year was that?
that was 22, 23.
Okay.
That
All
we
right.
started, that we bought the building and started thinking toward it. So, and then we opened in March of 24. So we've only been
Okay.
a little bit over a year.
Okay. Yeah. I was just thinking of what that timeline looks like, because I think that's the same thing as I've learned of being a book podcaster, right? Is it's not like you just have this idea for a book and you write it and then it happens. Like sometimes it's a 2 to 3 year process
Oh,
before you
yes,
see this
definitely.
actually in print. And so I imagine that building out a bookstore is maybe not a 3 year project, but it's also something that takes time. So to
Oh,
give
yeah.
the listeners perspective.
It took um it took a while for two reasons. One, the building had to be renovated.
Sure.
And, inevitably that never goes as planned. So I had a wonderful contractor, Derek, but we just kept getting behind and just
Yeah.
nothing went as planned. And so it took a little bit longer on the building then. And actually, we did not get our shelves in till the day before grand opening. So we
Oh
had
my
the grand opening
goodness.
planned. We had food trucks. We had
Yeah.
all the things. And we literally got the shelves in at 3 o'clock. So we stayed up
Oh,
almost all night. We went home
how
and
many people did you enlist to help?
so I had my whole staff.
Okay.
So I had six staff members at that point. My husband and I, some of our kids, my preacher, who is also family to us, his
Yeah.
wife and his two like college age daughters, just some friends, just different people came and helped us.
Yeah.
So we literally shelved all night.
Yeah. That's where
So
it's a community effort when you're
it
like, okay, it's
was.
3 p.m. We open tomorrow. Like, what are we going to do?
Yes, our kids, like grandkids, everybody were shelving. So
Yeah.
we have some older grandkids that are teenagers, so they helped. Yeah, it was crazy that night. We were so tired at grand opening, but it was worth it. We
Yeah.
thought that we were like, we'll be happy if 30 people come. You never know what to expect.
Yeah. And you don't want to make your expectations too high, right? You're like,
Right. You
okay.
never want to be disappointed. You'd rather set them low and be
Yeah.
excited. So, but we had hundreds of people. We ended up getting in trouble with the fire marshal. So we had
Because of
people
the parking
lined
situation.
up. Yeah. Yeah. Well, yes. And how many people
Yeah.
we had in the building.
Okay.
So yeah, they definitely, if you build it, they will come. And people were lined up excited about it.
Oh, that is incredible.
So that
At
was
that
fun.
point, when you're like the shelves are going in at 3 p.m., like how were you calm or were you just like, how in the world is this going to come together?
I was pretty calm. I'm one of
Okay.
those that like I'm going to be calm and get it done, and then at later I'm going to be like, oh my gosh, what in the world were we doing?
How did
But
we do that?
yes, some people were panicking, but we made it all work. Everybody just, at first we were like this genre, and we're alphabetizing, and then we're like, just stick them on the shelves, just
Yeah.
stick them on the shelves. It doesn't matter. So we got a lot less picky as the night went on about where the books went.
Yeah.
So.
So, from what you had, like your vision, as you were doing this, and I'm sure you're planning all these ideas and how you can use it in the community to what it is. So, you're a little bit over a year later. Did it kind of stick to plan, or have you had to change things along the way as well?
I think a little bit of both. I think the
Okay.
main part is kind of what I envisioned. It's kind of what I planned. Obviously, going into it without a lot of experience, I learned a lot of lessons.
Yeah.
I pivot well. That's one thing I do well. I mean, plan A doesn't work. Let's go to plan B. I don't
Yeah.
panic about it. I think being a business owner for so long, and
Yeah.
especially in pediatrics, which is just organized chaos every day, is all pediatrics is. And so I'm used to pivoting
Yeah.
quickly. And so I think we just had to pivot a lot. If this didn't work, then we do this. And we tried some things, nobody came. We tried
Yeah.
other things that we didn't think would work, and everybody came. And so we just are
That's
like, I'm
awesome.
like, throw out an idea, we'll try it. If it doesn't work, I think the thing that I hoped for that we've done a really good job and our community has really embraced is the community. I was like,
Yeah.
you can buy cheap books on Amazon. People
Yeah.
are not going to come here just for books. They're going to come here for the community we build. And so that's really the community around books, book lovers. We have Stitch and Chat that comes and sews there one night every week.
Oh, I
So
love
it's
that.
just the community of the building. We laugh and say it's the third place.
Yeah.
You have your home and you have your work, and then you have the bookstore. And so we have so many people that that's their third place. And that's the thing I think I love the most is
Yeah.
I love talking about books, and I love all the new people that come in, but I also love our regulars that come in all the time. I've made so many friends, and we just have built this whole community around books and coffee.
Yeah.
Coffee was just kind of a side thing. We're like, we'll do some coffee for the people, but it's actually my employees grew it into something like fantastic. And so people come in for the coffee and just
Yeah.
sit and, just talk. And we have lots of little group sitting areas, and we have a conference room people can use that has couches in it. And so we have a lot of people that just come and hang out with their friends.
That's great. I
So,
imagine it's like the Cheers, but it's a bookstore.
yeah, yeah, exactly.
The Cheers
Exactly.
locale.
Hmm.
I remember we went to, I believe it was Bruges, Belgium. And we were stationed overseas, and we went to this, and it was a breakfast place, but we walked in, and of course we had done some research on, I think we used Yelp. I can't even remember what platforms we would use to
Right.
like find what was in the community. But we go to this little breakfast, and turns out we walk in, and it was a bookstore, but it also served as a breakfast place.
Oh,
And
I
it would
love that.
close at 2 p.m., but it's like you could take the book from the shelf and you could read it, or you could take it with you and buy it. Like it just was just, and it went up for sale about a year after we went to it. My husband's like, should we buy it? And I was like, well, yes, but like, we're not ready to move to Bruges, Belgium. So I don't know that that pipe dream is like going to come to fruition, but
That's
as a
awesome.
military spouse, I dream of like being able to create a community that stays.
Right.
And I with moving all the time, and it's always this push pull of, obviously I have the podcast now, and so I'm always like, how can I build a community? But I feel like I've done a lot of it online because I just know we're going to leave in 1 to 3 years, depending on where we are in our time somewhere. So that is like a dream that sits out here of like, when we don't have to move, I cannot wait to like just create a community around books somehow.
Yes. Somewhere,
Yeah,
somewhere.
somewhere, somehow,
And I
like
think
that
you've done
is.
that with your podcast for sure.
Yeah, and it's given me like a start, right? And a same thing. It's like I've tried different things that I'm like, I didn't know if it would work, but it's like you're just trying different things to bring people together so I can interact. Like, it's great to interview guests, but I also want to hear from the listeners. And so, like, figuring out ways to interact with the listeners as well. So,
Yes.
yeah. What has been your favorite part about owning the bookstore? You might have already mentioned this with the community, but
Gosh, community definitely. I mean, that would be like number one.
yeah.
Um, Talking about books. I love to talk about books. And now I have people that want to listen.
Yeah.
I mean, the people that I have been are like, we don't care, Carmen. Just move on, move on. And
Yeah.
so it's wonderful to be surrounded by people who are interested and who want to discuss books, want to discuss the ideas in books, authors. Um, that's been really fun. I love just the smell. I'll go on vacation, and when I walk back in the bookstore, I'm like, the smell of books and coffee. There's just something about that smell that's just
Yes.
beautiful.
Yeah.
And just I don't know. I love to walk. It's my happy place. I
Yeah.
love to walk in that door. I mean, not much gets me up really early in the mornings, but books and
Yeah.
just being there. So yeah, it's just my happy place. I have the best staff there. That is one thing we did really well in the beginning that I will mention is I was like, okay, I know to surround myself with good people. So the first thing I did was hire my manager, who was a friend of
Okay.
mine. We'll talk about her a little bit more in a minute, but she was a friend of a friend who I met years ago. Her kids have come to our practice, and so she's just, kind of been in my life
Yeah.
on the fringes, kind of. And then so my our big mutual friend was like, "Hey, Jennifer said she knows about the bookstore. If there's anything she can do, she wasn't working at that time. She would jump in and help." And so we met at Taco Mama, and we, discussed it. And I was like, "Why don't you come on and help me start it?" And so she was
Yeah.
kind of the first person. And so we brainstormed a ton of ideas. And I had taken over the years the best of every bookstore I'd been in, the things that
Yeah.
I liked about it, whether it was the vibe or the way they organized things or just whatever really pulled me in that bookstore. I'd kind of written it down and had this idea in my head of this is the best of everything that I'd like to put in
Yeah.
it. And so we kind of tried to cultivate that. And then I hired a marketing person, Macy, who also was interested. She had been a barista, restaurant industry, so was interested in kind of getting the coffee going. And
Yeah.
then I hired a children's coordinator because that was really important to me with pediatrics and all to have a really good
Yeah.
children's section and events and things. And so that was kind of my core. We called it the core staff, and it was the four of us.
Okay.
And so we were really the ones that did all the planning and my husband. I'll give him some credit.
Yeah. Yeah.
My
Yeah.
husband was in there too. And so we kind of planned and did all the things. And then right before we opened, I hired three more booksellers at the time that were just going to
Okay.
come sell books who have now become just so those, kind of six were just our lifeline. Like they are the ones who took it and ran with it and built something beautiful.
Yeah.
So yeah, Colin, Dessa and Natalie came on at the very last minute. So they were definitely helping shelf those books that night.
Yeah.
But yeah, they do authors and subscription boxes and buy our fair and all of that now. So they've moved up to all kinds of things that they do.
Yeah. They just expand their role, right? As you
They
figure out what's
did. They just
working.
keep
Yeah.
expanding. They have the best ideas too. We do trivia nights. We do all the things. So it's
Oh, I've
fun.
never heard of trivia night at a bookstore, but that sounds fabulous.
It's so much fun. So we have something pretty much every night of the week. We live in the Bible Belt, so we don't do a lot
Okay.
on Wednesdays,
Yeah.
and we don't do a lot on Sundays. We are open on Sunday afternoons for a little while, but we don't do a lot on Sundays. But pretty much the rest of the week, we have events every night. We either have an author event, we have book clubs. We have a ton of book clubs. We have Stitch and Chat that they come and sew there.
How
We
fun.
have we've done Shrek trivia. We've done Gilmore Girls trivia. We've done,
Fun.
oh gosh, more than that. I think they're planning a Twilight trivia
Okay.
because the Twilight's coming back. There's something
Yeah.
with the Twilight. So we've done, yeah, those are really fun. We have a lot more men at those. They really
Which
like
is great.
it. We kind of
Yeah.
divide up, we give out prizes, and we have craft nights, just all kinds of fun stuff. Traffic in the store sales.
Yeah. That's what I was thinking when you said the coffee too, is like it's just a side, and people
Yes,
love coffee, so it gets them in the
right.
store. So,
They get their coffee and come in the book club, and then they buy the
yeah.
book for the next book club, and we just have a fun doing it.
Yeah.
So,
Well, what would be something that's been really hard in this process?
oh gosh, ordering. It's the
Okay.
hardest
I was like, I
from the
imagine it's
very
not all
beginning.
sunshine and roses,
Yes,
and rainbows.
I tell people when they interview for bookseller positions, I'm like, you think this is a job you're going to sit and read? I read so much less since I've
Yeah.
opened the bookstore than I did before. And
Interesting. Okay.
so one of my Natalie said the other day, she said, who's my head barista now, and she said, I read less and bring home more books. It's a problem. And I said, that is so true. That is the best statement ever. And so yeah, ordering has been the hardest. So obviously, when you're curating a beginning order to a bookstore, what do you get? There's
Yeah.
so many books out there, and where do you go and where do you find?
Yeah, and you don't know what your community is going to want. And
Exactly. You
yeah.
don't want your community. So there is a company called Ingram that is a distributor for books.
Okay.
And they don't publish, well, maybe they publish a few things, but in general, they're more of a
Sure.
distributor. And so in that you can buy any book through them. You get a little bit less of a discount through them if you go than if you go straight to the publisher. But so
Okay.
you can buy from Simon and Schuster at a better discount, but you can get Simon and Schuster books through Ingram.
Yeah. Okay.
So, but they do kind of a little thing that when you're opening a new bookstore, they'll do a curated list for you. So they ask you all kinds of questions, how much shelf space you have. You literally have to measure your shelf space
Wow.
and measure the shelves. And they kind of tell you this is what we recommend. And then
Okay.
you get this list and you can kind of tweak it to what you
Okay.
want. So you can take off, like, I know I'm not going to sell any of these books in my area.
Sure.
It's not, some towns are more engineering, some are more artsy. So all of
Yeah.
those things you can kind of take into account and curate your list from that. So we
That's
did
really
that.
helpful.
It is very helpful. It was not perfect by any stretch of
Yeah.
the imagination, but it was some place to start, which is
Yeah.
what we needed.
Especially when you're new to it, it's
Pointer new. I mean, we
yeah.
got a lot of things we didn't need. It didn't work perfect. One of the hard things was picking a computer system, like a POS
Okay.
system.
Sure.
So we went with Square just because it's small, it's very user friendly. It did all the things we needed at the time. We will probably expand to something a little bit more specialized eventually, but it does have a pretty good small bookstore, you know,
Okay.
um, bookseller thing. Um, so we went with Square. It didn't come across, it was supposed to integrate
Yeah.
with it, and it did not do that well. So that was a little bit of an adventure, is
A
getting
lot
into
of
our
legwork.
system and knowing what book this was in our system because the names didn't come across perfect. So
Oh
there was a
yeah.
little bit, but we made it work. We got through it.
Sure.
And now we've kind of fixed all that. And we put inventory in a different way now. So, those were all lessons we learned, but that was really the hardest. And it's still hard to predict what will sell.
Yeah.
We're a lot better. We get better at it all the time, but some publishers are really slow to ship. So, to get the best discounts, you got to order really early. And that's been the hardest, is just
Yeah.
kind of that sweet spot of how much to order of what, how long it's going to take to get here. Are we going to have it by this time?
And
Those
then all being different. That's really challenging.
it's all different. So you have the
Yeah.
big five publishers,
Yeah.
and we try to order straight from them because, of course, we get the best discount. Everything else we kind of order from Ingram. All the little small publishers, it's just easier. It's just too much to do from all of those. So we order those through Ingram. So we're learning. We still change it all
Yeah.
the time. I did it all by myself at first, and
Oh wow.
it was a struggle. And so
Yeah.
now Dessa helps me with it. So together we're getting it done. And everybody at the store helps. We have a spreadsheet that we can all see, like a Google Doc, and
Yeah.
they put things in there. Don't forget, we're out of, the first of this series or,
Sure.
anything they see. So, but keeping up, you have to go through the daily sales. So literally we have to go through the daily sales and be like, we want to rebuy this.
Yeah.
I think when we upgrade to a better computer system, that will be easier because there's better inventory systems than what we use that would spit out kind of this is what you need and what
Yeah.
you've sold more of. So those are things we're looking at right now.
Yeah. What do you, I
Um,
don't know if this is too hard of a question, but what do you think has been like a few of the top selling books in your store? Or does
um,
it go by like when they come out or new
It
releases? Like,
it
does
does
that?
come out. We do look at it a lot.
Yeah.
It does go by when they come out, and
Yeah.
obviously your Taylor Jenkins Reid, Emily Henry, those are
Yeah.
always big sellers. Mere Christianity by C.S. Lewis
Wow.
is a huge seller for us. We keep it in the pretty hardback, and people buy it as
Yes.
gifts. That's actually one of our top
I
sellers.
love that.
It is. Let's see. We sell a lot of, it's funny because we don't sell a lot of biographies. We don't sell
Okay.
a lot of memoirs. I think people like those on audio.
Yeah.
So, I like a memoir on audio. So
Hmm.
we don't sell a ton of those. We sell a ton of romance. So that's our number one, romance and
Yeah.
fantasy.
So, that's
We
a big
do have a small
genre.
used book section too, and we sell a lot of used books. So we take used books for credit. So we have
Okay.
probably about 70% new books and 30% used. And I only take
Okay.
used that I know will sell. So,
Yeah.
a lot of our a lot of new releases and things we'll take in used and people can buy them that way, and that's more economical, obviously, for customers. So we do take some of those. So we sell a lot of used books.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, those are some that just come to mind. I mean, obviously your big authors
Yeah.
sell. It's funny, it depends on what we hand sell too, because we have some like more obscure like horror titles that Natalie pushes, and they're probably
Sure.
in our top ones, but that's probably wouldn't be true for another bookstore. It's just because Natalie really pushes these books. So,
Yeah, well, and I think that especially like you said, these like obscure books, when you go to a bookstore, you might not even know this, but if
right,
someone gives you like a word of mouth recommendation, like I think, and you get in a conversation with them, like I would be way more likely to pick up this obscure title than
right,
like I would have if I just saw it on the shelf. I'm like, I don't know this book from the next one. So,
right. Yeah, there was a book that came out recently called Green Tea that I mean, we saw it on Bookstagram some, but it wasn't like a leading, and we sold a ton of those because Natalie just loved it, and she's there
yeah,
every day, and she pushed, she did a book club on it and talked everybody into buying it. So yeah,
fun.
so that's been fun to see what, that we love that we can make other people love,
Yeah.
we can share that with other people.
Yeah, and I think there's a bit of that in the Bookstagram world or, book podcasting. I mean, there's books that we talk about and we refer, that are favorites. So of course we're talking about it. So of course then the person, in your circle is like, "Oh, I might want to pick that up."
Right, right.
Yes. Well, let's switch gears a little bit and
Okay.
let's talk about who you are as a reader. What genres, well, when you get time, let's say that. What genres do you enjoy reading?
So I will read anything. There's not really anything. I'm not a dark romance reader, but
Okay.
other than that, I'll pretty much read anything. If somebody really recommends it and is like, you have to read this, I'll try it.
Yeah.
I've tried a couple of Natalie's horrors, and I don't know that they were for me, but I
Yeah.
learned something out of them. Um, Literary fiction is my go-to.
Yeah.
Literary fiction will always be my favorite. I like books that make me think. I like books about hard topics that maybe bring a different perspective than I thought about before.
Yeah. I
Something
love
I
that.
thought was black and white, and this book shows me there's a lot of gray areas. There's a lot I hadn't thought about to that. I love a book that makes me think like that. And that's usually I do a literary fiction book club at the bookstore. And
Okay.
that's what I bring. I try to get books that are, a little morally gray, that have some things to talk about, like we think this is wrong, but with all these extenuating circumstances, we can see how it
Yeah.
happens, like that kind of thing. Those are my go-to books.
Yeah. I love books that you just kind of ruminate on, whether
Yes,
you're in the middle of them or even after you finish. Those are, you tend to be the ones I'm recommending because it's like, I'm still thinking about that book I read 3 weeks ago, right?
exactly.
Then it's got the
Mhm.
staying power of like, okay, this really hit me.
Yes. And that will move it up to a 5 for me. So when I'm rating, I might rate it a 4, but if I'm still thinking about it 6 months, I'll go back in and make it a 5 because if
Yeah.
I'm still thinking about it, then it was important.
For me, it's if I feel something at the end, you get an automatic additional star, no matter what I like
Agree.
remember from the book. But I'm like, if I am feeling something, whether it's like happy or sad or emotional, whatever, if you evoke that in me, you're getting an extra
I
star.
love that. Yes. Yes.
So, how in your busyness do you find time to read?
It is hard. I read a lot of audiobooks. I do. Um there's just no other way. I
Yeah,
just don't have that much time between grandkids and really three jobs. I have another little like thing I do on the side. So
sure.
I listen to books all the time though. I listen to books when I'm getting ready in the morning. I
Yeah,
listen to books in the shower. I listen to books in the car. I listen if I'm doing so I do a lot of accounting at work, and when I'm doing
sure.
those kinds of things, if I'm just, reconciling a bank statement, I can listen to a book while I do that. When I'm doing planning and brainstorming, I can't. But if I'm doing a
Yeah.
monotonous task, I can. Um, I read before bed, so my reading time is usually at night. That's
Yeah.
usually the time I actually open a book. I do not like to e-read. I will say that. I am not
Yeah.
an e-reader. I try, NetGalley, that's really your only choice through it, and I just can't. Unless
Yeah.
I'm on the airplane and it's my only option, I would rather have a book or an audiobook.
Yeah.
So yeah, I just try to get it in wherever I can. I always have a book in my purse. I always have a book in the car. I always have a book, and it might be different books. I'm usually reading five at a time. So I usually have several things going. I am the grandmother, and I was always the mother at the sporting event that has the book snuck in her lap. And when her kids playing, I'm watching, but if they're not, I'm reading my
Yes.
book.
Feel like I made a post, maybe this was last year, and I was like, no one's more optimistic about reading than a mother who brings a book to every sporting practice because
Absolutely.
inevitably, like, you don't always get to it,
No.
so. So you have been so gracious to bring a book flight with you. Can you tell us how you chose these books?
Yes. So, being a bookseller, I thought I would choose books that I would hand sell in the store. So, it was a hard choice. I had all kinds of things in my mind that went through my mind of what I would choose, but that was kind of what I came down to. I was like, okay, what fits in with since this is about book selling in a bookstore? So, I picked
Yes.
things that I would hand sell in the store.
Wonderful. So what's the first book you brought today?
Okay, the first book I brought, I'm going to do fantasy first. I tried to pick some different genres. So I did Rebecca Ross's Little Duology, Divine Rivals and Ruthless Vows.
I loved this
So
book or this
I love
series.
Yes, I love these because I have a lot of people that come in and want just like a dip into fantasy.
Yeah.
They haven't read it before. I don't want to give them high fantasy that has crazy world building. To me, this is a perfect world building. It's small, but it is there. They get a taste of it. It's clean for my young readers because I have a
Yeah.
lot of teenagers, young teenagers that want to dip into fantasy. And it's a good series for them to start with. I don't have to worry about it having something parents are going to be upset about. So
Yeah.
this is kind of my go-to. I want fantasy. I've never read a lot of it. What would you recommend? And
Yeah.
especially for my teenagers, this is like number one, which I get a lot of that with teenagers. Like, I haven't read fantasy before, what can I read?
Yeah, it's so
But
funny you say that because that was why that was the other thought when I started this podcast was how can I say I don't like genres if I've never tried them? So that was my other thought of the book flight of like, well, come bring me three books. And fantasy was the genre. Like I asked my neighbor down the street, I'm like, can you be a guest? Like I always say I don't like fantasy, but I've never really explored it. So I feel like I can't say that with unless I try. So
right.
it's funny that you say that because that was my
Yes.
genre that I was like, I want to try, but I don't even, there's so many books out there. How do you know where to start?
So did you try it? Did you like it?
I did, and I actually tried Mistborn by
Oh,
Brandon
yeah.
Sanderson
Whoa,
because
that's,
she,
yeah.
yeah, that had a little bit more, but I mean, like the characters were so relatable, and you could talk about so many things of real life, but in this other realm, and so yeah, I've now read a lot more fantasy because of that.
Gotcha. That's interesting because that's not what I would have told somebody to start with. But
Yeah,
we still a lot of Brandon Sanderson. A
yeah.
lot. Yes.
Yeah,
Very
I
cool.
think that was just maybe one of her favorite series. So it was one of her book flight recommendations. So, of course, then I always am trying to read. I don't always get to read the book flights before the episodes air, but I always will try to pick up at least one so that I can go back to the guest and be like, I absolutely loved
Oh, I
whatever you
love
sent
that.
me, or, to keep that
Yeah.
piece going. But I had never been introduced to a duology until I read Divine Rivals, which I loved because I'm like, two book series seems like a way easier commitment than something
Yes.
that's like 7 books long. And I'm like, oh, do I want to take this
Yes.
on?
Yes, exactly. That's the other thing. I am not a good series reader.
Yeah,
I mean, book three, I can do a trilogy, but after that, I'm
I
just
know.
done. I mean, I
Yeah,
might go back to it later, but I will rarely finish one like back to back. So a
yeah,
duology trilogy, that's perfect for me.
yeah,
So, and I feel like these two, like, I mean, I read them in my late 40s and I thought they were good. So I feel like they're good for all ages.
yeah,
So,
absolutely. Well, thank you for bringing that. That was The Divine Rivals by Rebecca Ross. What's the next book you brought today?
so the next one I brought is romance. So it has two covers. So
Okay.
this is Just Business by Jenny Cross. So um full disclosure, Jenny Cross was my original general manager, my friend that helped me start the bookstore.
Oh, I love it. Okay.
So she started writing the book right after we started the bookstore.
Okay.
And kind of, she actually, well, I say she left. Now she just hangs out and doesn't get paid. Like she's still there. She's just, in fact, the other day, she's like, you got to be back on the payroll. Like I've been here all
Yes.
week. But she started writing the book and just was like, I want to be an author. And so I'm so proud of her. This is a fantastic book.
Okay.
It's so scary to read a friend's book. So when a friend says, I'm publishing, I want to do this book, would you please read my book? You're like, and I honestly procrastinated because I'm like, what if it's bad? What do
Yeah.
they say? But I'm so impressed. It was really good. She is a romance person and it is a
Okay.
romance. It is small town. So we live in so part of our Quad Cities is Muscle Shoals, and I don't know if you know what that is, but Muscle Shoals, Alabama is known for its music industry. It was kind of
Okay.
Nashville before Nashville. So it
Okay.
is where Sweet Home Alabama
Oh,
was
yeah.
recorded.
Okay.
So, I mean, Steven Tyler's recorded here, Aretha Franklin, Alabama Shakes. Like there's been a ton of people who have recorded here and still recorded. We still have an active studio. And
Yeah.
so it's kind of part of our culture here is the music
I love it.
industry. And we always have a lot of big names in town that sweep in, record, sneak out. And so she kind of played on that. So it's kind of, it's a fictional town, but it's based on our hometown.
Okay.
And it's kind of a burnout. His producers wanting him to record things he doesn't want to record, male star country music singer, and he
Sure.
comes to a small town to kind of get his bearings back and get back to his roots, and he meets Penny who owns a recording studio, and it's kind of instant spark small town romance, moderate spice. It does have a little bit of spice, not
Okay.
too much, but a little bit. And it's a really good story. She did it right. She got an editor. It's indie published.
I love
So
it.
I wanted to bring something indie since I'm an independent bookstore. So
Yeah.
it is indie published, but she did a very good job. She hired the editor, she hired all the things. She even has like they recorded some music to go with it in town. So that
Yeah.
was really cool that she did a song to go with it. I think you can get it on like iTunes.
That's so
I'm sure you could
fun.
Google it and find
Yeah.
it, but she really went all out and she did a really good job. It is a really good story. I'm not a big romance reader. And I was
Okay.
like, Jennifer, I am really impressed. You did good. Like, you did
Yes.
very well on this.
I
So,
love that books where you feel like you can travel through the pages, and I feel like this would give me a little, and I've never been to Alabama, so this would give
yes,
me a little
this would give you
glimpse.
a really good small
Yeah.
town Alabama vibe. Yeah.
Okay. All right.
And he
Adding it
has a
to my
little southern
list.
accent. It
Yeah.
gives you a little of the southern small town vibe for sure. So
Wonderful.
that's my
Well,
romance.
okay. So that was Just Business by Jenny Cross. And then what's the next book you brought?
The next book I brought was The Road to Tender Hearts. And this one is one of my favorite books I've read.
Yeah.
I just did a subscription box and a book club on it. When I do my literary fiction book club, we rarely all agree. We're usually divided half and half. We like the book, we didn't like the book, and we love to discuss why. But everybody liked this one. It was
Yeah.
one that every single person liked. Um, it is about a kind of grumpy old man. He's had some sad things in his life. He can barely take care of himself. He was a lottery winner who's kind of wasting his money. His ex-wife takes care of him, and all of a sudden he inherits his estranged brother's grandkids. Through some tragic
Okay.
events, they become orphans, and DHR just kind of shows up on the steps. CBS just kind of shows up on his steps and is like, oh, I have these two kids. And he's like,
Yeah.
oh, this is my second chance at fatherhood and taking care of kids because he did not do that great with his daughter. Um, and so he takes them in and they decide to go. He has this long lost love across the country that he wants to
Okay.
go find. And so they take a road trip. And so
Love
it's
it.
these two precocious children. PJ and his daughter decides to go with them. And so it is hilarious. Like
I can only
funny.
imagine.
Everything goes wrong. It's heartwarming. It's He's crass, so know that going in.
Okay.
It's funny. It's kind of, in fact, one of the girls in the book club said it's that humor. You're like, should I really be laughing at this? But it's fun.
Yeah.
You're like, Sure, it's kind of like the wedding people. If you liked the wedding people, to me, it's that
Okay.
humor. Like you're laughing about suicide. This is not funny, but she makes it funny, and that's kind of what Annie Harnett does in this.
Okay.
Um, she just makes it funny, but it's a sweet story. Um, it's found family,
Oh,
it's
my
road
favorite.
trip, it's reconciliation, it's kind of, figuring out what you could do different this time.
Yeah.
The kids are sweet. It's just a fun, fantastic little ride. It does have just a touch of magical realism in it. It has a
Okay.
cat named Pancakes who can kind of predict death. And
Okay.
he's kind of one of I don't even know his role in the story, but it wouldn't be the same story without him. He's a
Okay.
little side character that's just funny and kind of unites them. They take him on the road trip with him.
Okay.
So that's fun. So that
Wonderful.
was,
Well, I haven't heard of this one either. So The
oh
Road
my
to
gosh. And
Tender
it has a cute
Hearts.
cover. Has a fantastic
Yes.
cover.
So,
So,
and that was by Annie Hartnett. So thank you
right.
so much for sharing that one with me and maybe the listeners as well if they haven't heard of it. And you have brought a dessert pairing with you today. So what is the last book you brought?
So my last book is The Correspondent by Virginia Evans. Um, Gosh, it is just a beautiful book. So it is a book written all in letters.
I
It's
love
kind of
it.
like if somebody read letters to and from you and told your life story, what would it say?
Okay.
So it's her writing letters. She's older. I thought it was going to be kind of this formal older lady who writes these letters. She's a retired attorney. She's a mom. She's a divorcee. She's very set in her ways in the beginning of the book. But
Okay.
then as the book goes on, you see kind of her heart, and even, it's kind of like she's too old to grow, but no, she's not. You see growth throughout the book, and you see her come to terms with some things that happened in her life and face the things she didn't want to face before,
Yeah.
and kind of the ultimate letter she's been writing and who it's to and what it says.
Okay.
It's funny. She writes letters, like some of them are emails because that's her. So there's like a customer service person that she emails, and she learns like all about him and helps him get a job. And it's just a random customer service, like a cable person. And she's like, and she ends up finding out his life story and helping him get a job. And she writes a university president and is mad because she won't let her audit this class. But then it's a lot of letters to her family, and you find
Okay.
out kind of her family history. And yeah, it's funny, it's beautiful. It made me want to go write letters again.
Yeah.
It's I think people see um epistolary, is that the right
Yeah.
word? It
Yeah.
just didn't sound right all of a sudden. Epistolary novels, and they kind of get scared and they're like, I don't really want to read that. It is fantastic. It is one you do not want to miss. If you like, she writes to authors, so it has a little literary
Fun.
thing to it. It has a little, she writes to I'm trying to think of who. She writes to two or three like really famous authors. And it's just beautiful. I think Ann Patchett blurbed it. It's
Okay.
definitely an Ann Patchett kind of book, but I loved it. I thought it was beautiful. And it's my subscription box for this month. So
Okay. I
my
added
once at the library will at the bookstore will be getting this.
I love it. I added it to my list after I heard you talk about it because I will tell you, I read the Guernsey and Literary Potato Peel Pie
Yes.
Society. I always question myself if I've got all of those words in the right order
I
in that
know.
title, but it made me want to read every epistolary novel that is ever made after that because
Yes.
I loved that book so much and I had never read one like that until I read that book. And like I said, you say epistolary and I'm like, I'm reading it, add it to my list.
Another great one is 84 Charing Cross Road. I don't know
Oh,
if you
yes, I loved that one too.
tiny, little bitty and
Yes.
beautiful. Like definitely booksellers. That's like fantastic. Yeah.
Yeah,
It's
I
great.
read I don't know that it's been on a book flight yet, but it's called The Unselected Journals of Emma M. Lyon. Have you
I've never
heard
heard
of
of
it or
that. No.
so they're novellas. There's 8 of them out there, but they're all novellas. So don't be intimidated when I say this, but it is written in the form of journal entry. So I don't know if it's that would technically make it epistolary, but it is her Emma's journals and they are hilarious and I smile silly when I am reading these because their character it's the same characters throughout this like 8 novellas and you get to know them and they're hilarious and they're quirky And I always think about, I'm like, I must look ridiculous right now because I am smiling like ear to ear and I'm reading my book. And I'm like, anybody that sees me right now is like, what is this woman doing? Because it is
I
just
love that. Okay, I
so
have to remember those.
delightful and
What's the
feel
name
good.
again?
It's the Unselected Journals of Emma M. Lyon. And I
Right.
believe she's self-published. So as we know, like a lot of self-published authors don't always get a lot of hype behind them, but she has a serious following now at this point because I
Wow.
think she's working on book 9, but like I think this
I'll
is
have
going to
to
be
find
like
those and
20
order
something
some.
books, but they are so good. And I think the first one's like 70 or 80 pages. So they're very short. So when I say 8 books, don't be, like, oh gosh, I have to write this off because they are so short and delightful. And I
That
loved
sounds
every
great.
minute when I read them.
I will definitely, yeah, I'll definitely get those.
So wonderful. Well, how I love to end our show is with our bonus questions that you can
Okay.
answer really quick. Are you a rereader?
No, there's just so much out there I want to read. I will reread before a book club I am leading if it's been
Okay.
a while since I read the book. And that's about the only things I ever reread.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Mhm.
What is one book you've read that has changed your life?
I think, gosh, I think every book changes us a little bit, as we go. I think we're a compilation of all the books we've read. But I would have to say The Poisonwood Bible by,
Oh, yes.
yeah, Barbara Kingsolver. I read it in my 20s. Okay, I
Okay.
know this is quick questions. I'll do
You're
this
good.
quick. I read it in my 20s, and I think that it got me back into reading. It got me reading serious stuff. I had been reading a lot of fluffy romance at that point in my
Sure.
life, and it got me it's a good book about motherhood. I was raised in Bible Belt South. It kind of opened my eyes about legalism and religion.
Yeah.
I think it just changed me in some ways, and it's a book I've never forgotten. I
Yeah.
always kind of go back to it as a book that, I'll reference to people and say things. So if I had one I had to pick, and
Yeah.
that's hard, it would be that.
Yeah. Pivotal for you to
Hmm,
get back
pivotal.
into that. Where is your favorite place to read?
It used to be my bed, but now I have a golden retriever that's about 2, and she is against that completely. She wants to be in my face.
Yeah.
So I tend to read in my recliner in the living room or my back porch. I have a beautiful back porch, my favorite thing about our house.
Okay.
And so I love to read out there when it's pretty. Now, right now in Alabama is not the time to read on the back porch. It's, 110 with 100% humidity.
Yeah.
But in the spring and the fall, it's beautiful out there to read. So I like that in the porch swing, true
Yeah.
Alabama porch. I have a
Sounds
porch
lovely.
swing on the front and the back porch.
Yes, love
So.
it. Lastly, what are you reading next?
Next I am going to read I put it here because I'm not going to remember the name of it. The Summer We Ran by Audrey Ingram.
Okay.
I don't know. It was actually I still get book of the month. So it's
Sure.
'cause, um, sometimes they have ones I've not even like been on my radar.
Yeah.
So,
I'm like, I haven't even heard of
um,
it.
I like it.
Yeah.
I mean, I like the premise of it. So it's teenage love that now later they're running for governor, both of
Okay.
them, the girl and the boy, and a lot of the secrets from that summer came out. It's Zibby published. I love
Okay.
Zibby Owens.
Yeah.
She's just, I don't know, one of those people that I aspire to be like. She does all the things. And
As
so
a
I always pick
podcaster,
Zibby
same.
books. I usually read all of her, books that she publishes. So that's one reason I picked it too.
Yes. Well, that sounds lovely. I'm gonna have to look that one up.
Yeah, I've
So,
heard great things about it. So, and it's too has a pretty cover. We say we don't judge books by the cover. We do.
oh, I totally do.
100%. It's got a beautiful cover.
Yeah. I have definitely some that I'm like, no, ick. I don't know that that's
Yes.
gonna be my for me.
Yes.
Well, thank you so much for coming on the show with me today.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah,
Yes.
I know your time is precious and I appreciate all you've given me.
Thank you. This has been so fun.
You're welcome. Thank you so much for listening to this episode today with Karmen Somers, including her book flight of books that she would hand sell in Court Street Books, her indie bookstore. We'd love to hear what other books you'd pair with this book flight at bookishflights.com. If you enjoyed the show, please head over to Apple Podcasts and leave a review. Your review not only helps the show, but it also helps the podcast to reach others. make sure you are subscribed on Apple Podcasts or Spotify to make sure you will not miss an episode. That's it for today. Thank you so much for listening. As Emma Thompson said, I think books are like people in the sense that they'll turn up in your life when you most need them. Cheers to you, dear readers. Until next time.